大家都知道，二省目前经济不好，失业人口众多。NDP 政府推行的高税率、大量举债、抬高赤字等杀鸡取卵的愚民政策，很有可能把已经举步维艰的二省经济推向崩溃。没有工作，劳工外流，房价不振，省民债务高筑，人民的财产缩水。二省实在是不能再承担 NDP 2019年大选再做4年的风险。刚刚 PC 和 YROS 合并以后的联合保守党 UCP 就是为了打败 NDP 而生的，是挽回二省经济和未来最有效直接的办法。今天我有幸来到 UCP 的竞选办公室，采访目前最有希望当选 UCP 党魁的 Jason Kenney 先生，看看他是怎么样看待二省的前途和我们关心的二省的经济的问题，还有一些什么话他是想跟我们华人社区说的。
阿省的华人朋友们，为了阿省的明天，请投我一票。
Congratulations for uniting the right under the Big Ten. How will you plan to lead the team with potentially huge differences in social ideologies and be successful in 2019?
I don't think this is too difficult. In Alberta history, we had good government with a very broad coalition leading the province formerly in the Progressive Conservative Party, with premiers like Peter Lougheed, in whose house you live, and Ralph Klein. And they managed there were a lot of different views, but they stayed focused on economic growth, and they did a good job. I think Stephen Harper did the same thing federally, a very big tent. Premier Brad Wall does the same thing in Saskatchewan. Premier Christy Clark did in British Columbia. So I would follow their model of a big coalition with people that don't all think identically on every issue, but who are focused on economic growth, job creation, fiscal responsibility.
Okay, thank you. So, as leaders of inclusive right-wing parties, so how would you ensure policies not hijacked by people with extreme views?
One way we would do this is to have very strong screening of candidates who want to run for the Conservative Party to make sure that they have never expressed or promoted truly extreme views. We want space for freedom of expression, but if anybody's ever advocated violence or hatred towards others, they should not be permitted to run as a candidate.
No. Okay, thank you. So, can you describe what had you done for the Chinese community in the past?
Well, as Minister for Multiculturalism for 9 years, I worked very closely with the community. One of the first things I did was to help Prime Minister Harper with the apology to Chinese Canadians for the terrible injustice of the Head Tax and Exclusion Act, which was basically racist policies between 1885 and 1947, designed to block Chinese from coming to Canada. And so we had this official apology. We gave compensation to the surviving head taxpayers and millions of dollars in projects to teach future generations about that unjust policy. But more than that, every time the community came forward with a concern, I was there to represent and fight for them. For example, Japanese Prime Minister Abe insulted the Chinese women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Imperial Japanese Army in the Second World War. He said that they were volunteers. And so I got Parliament to pass a motion condemning Prime Minister Abe's insulting remarks and asking that he apologize to the so-called comfort women from China, Korea, and elsewhere. Thirdly, I worked very hard to improve the chances of integration of new Chinese immigrants. We tripled the federal funds for things like free English language courses and other settlement services. I oversaw, as I mentioned, a 400% increase in the number of visitor and student visas issued to Chinese coming to Canada. I welcomed over 150,000 Chinese permanent residents as the federal minister of immigration. Worked on so many other issues very closely with the community.
Thank you so much for doing that for the community. So, how do you see some municipal government always choose Chinatown to put drug injection sign, and how's that fair to Chinese community? Yeah.
I don't think it is. You know, it's not a coincidence that the first heroin injection site created in Canada was in Vancouver's Chinatown.
Right.
And I predicted, in fact, I had a meeting with leaders in the Edmonton Chinese community last fall, and I said when they try to bring in these injection sites for illegal drugs, they will put them in Chinatown. They never put them in areas populated by rich white people, quite frankly. The people who advocate for this stuff, they never put it in their neighborhoods. They never put it in the neighborhoods of where the university professors are living. They always put it in Chinatown. And sure enough, in Edmonton, 3 of the 4 proposed injection sites are in Chinatown. They use Chinatown, these historic Chinatowns, as a dumping ground for crime and the problems associated with this. And so this is one of the reasons why the Harper Conservative government adopted a law saying that illegal drug injection sites could not be established without the consultation and consent of the local community. But unfortunately, the Trudeau government has repealed that, and now of course, they're proceeding with these illegal drug sites in Chinatown.
Okay, thank you so much for doing that for the community in Chinatown. So, what the NDP has done to the education and at schools, what do you think?
Yeah.
And once you take office, so what would you?
So the NDP is rewriting the school curriculum in secret. They won't tell us who's involved in the rewrite, but I'm very concerned that they intend to bring in even more kind of ideological agendas, political agendas into the school system, and more and failed teaching methods. For example, there's been a disaster in math scores in this province as a result of something called discovery math. It doesn't teach mathematics properly. It confuses the children. As a result, we've seen a steep decline in numeracy, that is to say math literacy, math capability amongst Alberta students. We used to be leading the North America, and now we're falling behind. Chinese and Korean students are racing ahead versus Alberta students. So we need to end these ridiculous, failed fads in teaching methods like discovery math and discovery learning, because right now many Chinese immigrant families are spending thousands of dollars to pay for private tutors to instruct their children because they're not learning this stuff in school. Second point is, I'm very concerned about their agenda to teach children things that are very confusing, and I think the NDP is undermining that parental authority. And I think many people in the Chinese community, if they understood this, would be concerned about the direction that this is going in. They want their children to be taught only age-appropriate information, and I think usually they want parents to be able to discuss difficult and sensitive issues with their children, rather than having things taught without their knowledge in the school system. So I am very skeptical about the NDP's curriculum review. I would defend parental authority, restore the curriculum to a focus on critical knowledge and skills, try to remove political content from the curriculum and the schools, and these failed teaching fads. The great engine of social mobility, of progress, social progress for immigrant families in Canada, including Chinese families, is the education system. We need to get this right. The most important job in my government will be Minister of Education, and finally, we need school choice. So if parents want to send their children to charter school, independent school, alternative school, or even do homeschooling, they must have that as an option.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I guess that concludes all the questions and answers, economic questions and social questions. Thank you for taking time and answer the question and addressing the Chinese community. I think in 2019 we need a premier who's able to take the hard job on day one. So with your experience, determination, and enthusiasm, I'm sure you're going to make a great premier for the future of Alberta. Thank you.
谢谢大家。